are some amazing weapons that you can get relatively early in Baldur's Gate 3. From a staff that empowers all of your ice spells to a mace that can revive you, I will tell you everything you need to know and how to get these weapons in this video. For the first weapon, we're going to go on a little journey to the northwest to Walking's Rest over here on the map. Things are not going great here, judging by the fact that everything is on fire, but that does give us an opportunity to help these fine people out. There are two people you can save in the burning building, but one in particular will give you a very nice reward for your troubles. Councillor Floric is stuck on the second floor of the building, but simply breaking open this part of the collapsed wall will free her. Meet her again outside and she'll set you up for a new quest to save someone, but regardless of whether you choose to accept, she will give you a choice of 3 rewards for freeing her. You get the choice between a trident, a longbow and a staff, and it's mostly about what weapon type you want, as each of them offer a very similar buff. And it's a pretty powerful buff, one that's sure to increase your damage output, as each attack with the Sparky Points Trident and the Jolt Shooter Bow give you 2 lightning charges when you deal damage. The Spell Sparkler Staff works a bit different, as instead of building lightning charges off of attacks, it instead builds them by dealing damage with spells and cantrips. As long as you have a charge active, you get a +1 to your attack rolls, meaning you have a better chance to hit, and you deal 1 lightning damage on top of your regular attacks. However, if you attack with 5 charges active, they are instead consumed to deal between 1 and 8 lightning damage on top. So to get the most out of this weapon, use it on a character that can attack more than once, or in combination with spells that hit multiple times, like Scorching Ray. Now before we move on to what is easily the best weapon you can get early on, if you've enjoyed the video so far, then leave a like to help us out and subscribe for more Baldur's Gate 3 content. So once we've helped Walking's Rest, it's time to head further west to the mountain pass. Now you definitely want to save before heading in this direction, because you will run into a Githyanki patrol that we need to get past. You can talk your way through or sneak past, or of course attempt to fight, but they are a pretty high level, so keep that in mind. Our main goal is to simply cross the bridge and head into the mountains proper, because in these mountains is a monastery that, after a pretty elaborate puzzle, will give us the Blood of Lathander, an incredible mace that offers 3 very powerful abilities. When wielding this weapon, you can cast the Sunbeam spell once per long rest, which deals massive radiant damage in a straight line. But on top of this amazing spell, you also get Lathander's Blessing, which will revive you with a small amount of hit points when you hit 0 while wielding the weapon. Now this effect can trigger once per long rest, and it should also heal nearby allies for a bit, although for some reason this doesn't seem to work on every occasion. Finally, you also get Lathander's Light, a debuff that will blind any fiend or undead when they get too close to you. Now again, in order to get this weapon, we need to solve a puzzle in the monastery hidden in these mountains. The route to get here contains a decent amount of skill checks, so make sure you quick save often with F5 so you can retry them. First, we make our way to the gondola over here, which requires a strength check to activate. So select your strongest character, activate it, and then ride it to the monastery. Follow the path to the monastery waypoint, climb up the vines and break the barricade to secure yourself an entrance. This will trigger a fight with the group of Grimishka, who are relatively easy to deal with as long as you don't use magic and trigger their allergy. After mopping these up, head to this chamber on the map. From here, we need to collect 3 weapons hidden throughout the monastery and place them back in this room. For the first, head through the broken window, jump over the tree stump and kill the Guardian of Fate to grab the ceremonial battle axe. Head back the way we came from and leap over the gap in the ground in the central room. Climb the knotted roots up to the roof, where you will find a second weapon in the nest of a giant eagle. They weren't too happy to see me, so I had to take them out, but once you grab the weapon from the nest, head back down and go through the door at the end of the hallway. From here, we can go outside of the monastery to find this grave, where we can dig up the last weapon on our list. If you don't have a shovel yet, you can buy one of Aaron in the Emerald Grove. Either way, with these 3 weapons collected, it's time to head back to the chamber where we started our search and place them on the corresponding pedestals. The sword is already there, and then to the right of it, we place the hammer, then the mace, and then the battle axe. Once you get all 4 weapons in the correct position, a pouch becomes available to loot on the back wall that contains the Dawnmaster's crest. Grab it, we're going to need that later, and then we want to head all the way down to this room with the giant statue. The staircase on the left of it leads down into the basement, which is where the weapon is hidden, but it also hides an entire Githyanki crash. Again, save often so you can retry conversation checks to avoid conflict, but also because there are some major story elements you might trigger by accident here by talking to certain people. Won't spoil anything of course, but if you're just here for the weapon, avoid conversations as much as possible. We need to make it over here, but in order to do that, we need to bypass a force field in the captain's quarters. I simply stole the key from the captain and booked it before she could notice. We're almost there now, we just need to head into the left corner of this giant central room and twist the right statue facing away from the wall with the barrels and the left one facing towards it. This will open a new path that leads to a secret stairway, so take it down. Take out the energy source on the wall to get past the first barrier, then sneak around the first trap and another barrier by taking this route. Then disarm the second trap so you can safely destroy the final energy source hidden to the side over here. This will open up the final chamber where you can place the crest we grabbed earlier to finally claim the amazing blood of Lathander. But the mountainside monastery is not the only place that hides some amazing items, as you can also find some great gear in the Underdark. We're going to be hunting for the 3 pieces of the amazing Morning Frost staff in specific. This weapon slightly increases any cold damage you deal, but much more important is the fact that dealing cold damage has a chance to make enemies chilled, which means they are vulnerable to ice attacks, doubling any incoming cold damage. We of course need to get into the Underdark first, and I recommend doing so from the Goblin camp. From the waypoint, go inside through the front door, and then in True Soul Guts chambers over here is a locked door that blocks our way. I had already killed her and grabbed the key from her body, but otherwise you might have to steal it or pick the lock. Regardless, take care of any enemies you come across and make your way to this central chamber that requires you to solve a puzzle before you can continue. Rotate the circular plates until all the black circles are on the bottom one and the path forward will open, leading you to a ladder that takes you into the Underdark. You'll end up in a temple, which is actually right next to the first part of the staff. Climb outside the windows on the west side of the building until you reach a group of petrified drow. This will start an encounter with a spectator, which is a pretty dangerous enemy that you want to take out as quickly as possible. Don't bother with the other enemies he brings to the fight, as they will stop fighting you, at least temporarily, when you kill it. This starts a conversation, after which in my case the drow turn hostile again. But he is also holding the first part of the stuff we need, so take care of him and loot the icy health from his body. Up next, we're about to make some new friends and head over to the Myconid village over here on the map. As soon as you get close, you will be contacted by the Sovereign, so be nice to him and he'll let you enter the village. Talk to him on the giant mushroom in the center of the village and he'll ask you to take care of the Dwergard down by the lake. So we go and help him. You can even recruit a friend for this fight on the way out, but these enemies didn't give me too much trouble. Head back to the Sovereign with the good news and he'll open a cave for you that contains a ton of loot, including a hood that allows you to turn invisible, but more importantly, the icy metal required for the staff we're about to make. For the third and final part, we need to kill Filro the Forgotten. He's holed up near the Susser tree over here on the map, an area that also has a couple of hook terrors roaming around. As long as you're careful not to engage too many enemies at once, it shouldn't be too much trouble. After killing Filro, loot the final part of the staff from his corpse and combine the 3 elements in your inventory to make the Morning Frost. Remember to leave a like if you enjoyed the video and subscribe for more Baldur's Gate content. If you want, you can watch our previous video on some amazing things you want to get early by clicking on the screen. I will see you in the next one. Goodbye.